What's going on, WWPN world? It is your boy, the Prodigal One, JayB, for another episode of SMARK Talk. And this week, we are going way the hell in Europe because I have two of my good mates or fellas or whatever they call it on their side of the world. First, Paddy from BobbyBWrasslin. How you doing tonight?
How you doing, man? What's the crack?
Good. And secondly, from Fourth Wall Writing, from England, Joe, how you doing?
How do? I just started throwing the stereotypical, how do? Seeing as Paddy's throwing the stereotypical, what's the crack?
Perfect. Firstly, I do want to thank both of you guys for coming on the show. For those who don't know, currently right now, it's past midnight for both of these guys. And they were kind enough to come on the show and do this. So I appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate that very much. And I'm sure our viewers will appreciate it as well. The first thing I want to do, I want to just ask you guys a little bit. First, how did you get into wrestling? I want to go straight into the interview. And I know you guys have been watching for a long time. You guys know a lot of the old school stuff. How did you come up and start following wrestling? Paddy, I'm going to go ahead and start and ask with you first.
Right. Mine goes way back to, I think, my granddad used to watch it. So I think I used to go into the living room and he'd be sitting there watching wrestling. And of course, it was Hulk Hogan that I kind of remember the most. And you know how that went. He was everywhere, and it was just addictive for me whenever I saw Hulk Hogan and how entertaining he was. So that's where I would have started. And would have went on and then to the Attitude Era and stuff. I kept with it. I lost out in a bit of wrestling though, a couple of years, as a lot of people do, I'd say, but got straight back into it then.
Awesome. Yeah, for pretty much most of the mid 80s and early 90s, Hulk Hogan just was all over the television. Really, we talk about Super Cena these days, and some people talk about Super Roman. Back in those days, it was all Hulk Hogan, like 24/7. That's all you got, but that's what was marketable back then, and us as kids ate that stuff up. Joe, any memories on Hulk Hogan? And also, how did you start watching this sport we all love called wrestling?
I'm gonna throw out a bit of harsh words here, but I was never really a massive Hulk fan. I'll be honest. It didn't. I understood, the whole Hulkamania, but it just didn't do it for me. For me, it was again much like Paddy, grandparents. I was over at my grandmother's and I see this dude and it comes out with a Union Jack and he's got a British Bulldog and I'm like, holy hell, who is this guy? Because again, being in the UK is not a massive, we didn't get it as much. So to see a Brit represent wrestling was awesome. And then the next thing you know, I'm seeing this dude with shades and he's wearing pink. I'm like, who the hell's this guy? And it's like Bret Hart and, British Bulldog for me were just instantly grabbed my attention. I'm like, this guy's wearing pink and he's kicking ass. This guy's got a bulldog and he's also kicking ass. It was, for me, it was those two that kind of opened up the doors for me. And then when you go and see the crazier guys like Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, well, I much preferred over Hulk. No disrespect to Hulk, but it just wasn't my thing. And yeah, it was from then. And again, much like Paddy, into high school and the Attitude Era, I got a good friend of mine, Coops, and we were the only two guys in high school who loved wrestling. So followed the Attitude Era. And then also, like Paddy, I kind of fell out of it. I've missed the whole, PG era. I didn't really get into Shield or anything like that. So I've kind of been in and out, ever since, but it's always been a big part of my life.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, anyone who's listened to any of my stuff, it's no secret, my favorite wrestler of all time is Bret Hart. And the same way, I'm like, this guy is wearing pink and kicking people's ass. Like, I wanted to go out and buy a pink shirt. I didn't give a shit what anyone said. Pink was the color of cool for me.
Yeah.
What I also wanted to ask, because you guys have been watching this for a long time, I know what it's like now. I mean, in Europe, UK, Ireland, wrestling is massive now. It's all, all over the place. As far as, just the hype for it. People are clamming, there's been huge talks. Everyone wants the UK to at least get a WrestleMania, and it's huge there now. But in the 90s, how was it? Firstly, in UK, Joe, I want to ask, how was wrestling looked upon in the early 90s and around that, that time?
it was tricky because it was only available on Sky Sports, and back then there wasn't that many. I certainly didn't been a poor Yorkshireman. I didn't have Sky for ages, so I used to have to go round to friends' house to watch wrestling. And again, my dad's been the kind of father he was. He thought it was ridiculous. He thought it was stupid that these big, sweaty, naked men were fighting in the ring. He just didn't understand it, and a lot of older people kind of didn't get that, because although we had like giant haystacks and things like that, American wrestling was just so much more cartoonish and out there. So it was, for me personally, in my kind of area, it was very much frowned upon. Only a couple of us had Sky Sports, and only a couple of us would go down and watch it. So again, trying to get a hold of watching it was much harder. So I appreciated it a lot more every time I got to see a pay-per-view or whatnot. I just, every single second of it I loved, but it was tricky, and I'm sure a wider audience, I'm sure it did have in the UK, but for my personal kind of circle of friends, it was mocked very much so.
Yeah, that just it goes to show you how things are different over here. It was widespread, and it was accepted. It went through phases. At first, in the 80s and 90s, it was widespread, accepted, and then it kind of became like this taboo thing. And now it's like whatever, because so many different things are accepted. But regarding my parents are the one who got me into wrestling. My mom and dad used to watch. They used to take me to the video stores to rent all these videotapes. And I remember the first time I went to a WrestleMania, which is I don't remember what year it was, but it was WrestleMania 28. And my dad was like, "You still watch wrestling? Like, you're really going to, it's fake, right? It's fake, right?" And I'm like, "No, Dad, not you too." So yeah, I mean, he still asks me every now and then. He's like when I went for WrestleMania 33, you really, the same question, you still watch that stuff? It's fake. It's not real. But Paddy, what about you? Same question to you. How was, in the early 90s, how was wrestling in Ireland?
Yeah, well, a little bit different. Well, I was in the same boat as Joe. I didn't have Sky TV and Sky Sports because it was like so expensive. But a lot of my friends did like wrestling, and we used to collect the stickers and do the swapping, and a lot of them had the figures, and so we were big into wrestling. But the only problem was that not everybody could afford to watch it on the Sky TV. So I actually had these guys that lived across the road from me, who I didn't even fucking like, but I used to pretend. I used to hang about with them just so I could go into their fucking house and watch wrestling. And then when the pay-per-views and stuff were on, or whenever they had the big shows, I used to actually have to sneak out my window. And I can still remember I had those big metal blinds, and I used to be like a ninja trying to pull the rope up and make no noise so I could get out the fucking window and get over. And so to put it, wrestling was pretty big. It was just like Sky kind of restricted a lot of people to watching it. Did you guys have to pay like satellite to watch it over there? I think you just had it on your normal television stations, did you?
So for us over here in America, back in the 80s and 90s, before Raw was even a thing, wrestling would show every Saturday and Sunday around 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was on regular television. You didn't even need cable. And that's how I started watching wrestling. Then in the 90s, when Raw came about, you needed cable. Well, for the first year of Raw, I did not watch because we didn't have cable. And then in 94, is when we got cable, so I started watching Raw in 94. So I missed about the first year of Raw. But it was the same thing. I mean, I would always try to watch. I never got to see any pay-per-view live, just because back then pay-per-views, they were like, even though it was like $30 or $25, that was a lot of money back then over here. So I never got to see any pay-per-view live, but I would always go and rent the VHS, the cassette, and I would do that. So that's pretty much what it was for me over here. Now, you did mention something. You mentioned that you used to collect figures, and I actually met both of you guys. We met in a Twitter group called the FCW. So shout out to all the FCW guys. Too sweet. Shout out to all you guys. And I'm obviously the jobber of this group because I literally own 2 figures. I own a Macho Man.
Very good figures.
I own a Macho Man that I don't even know what Defining Moments I think it's called, and I own a Jax Chris Jericho, which I'm sure there's no honorable figure collector that even collects jacks. So I'm gonna go to Paddy first, and I'm gonna ask you to talk a little bit about the FCW and talk a little bit about figure collecting. How did you get into this? And if one wanted to start figure collecting, how can they do that?
Right. Well, I want to start first of all on that Macho Man figure you have. That's the defining moments. That's the WrestleMania 3 that Macho Man, which was probably, in my opinion, one of his greatest ever matches. So you started off on the right track. How did I start? I guess with my son, we would sit up and he'd want to watch a load of cartoons and all, and you know, I just thought, you know, maybe we could get him into watching wrestling. At least I wouldn't mind sitting watching that, you know. And he loved the wrestling. And of course, when we went to one of the big toy shops, the place was full of wrestling toys. And you know, I got him a couple of figures, and then more characters started to come on the screen. So we had to get each wrestler that was in the big stories, you know. And then it got to the point where I thought, I'm going to just have to get all these fucking figures. And then I got a little temple of a couple of wrestlers standing up, you know, on my shelf, and I just thought, this looks pretty cool. And I don't know, I just kind of got hooked and addicted, and I just started collecting. So I'm not even collecting that long, you know, either.
Awesome. Now, real quick, before I go to Joe and ask Joe pretty much the same question, for those who know Paddy and have known him for a while, through this same group, all the guys and all the girls in the chat room, there has been this gigantic misconception that for some reason your name is Bobby. And I myself thought that as well, only until about a couple weeks ago. So Bobby, for those who don't know, is actually your son, and you're Paddy.
Yeah. So yeah, I made the YouTube channel for him, and I wasn't really going to like put it out there or anything. It was just because he loved watching videos of, you know, kids do. They love watching those unboxing videos of his Kinder Surprise eggs, or, you know, the toys and stuff. Right. And then he started watching wrestler unboxings, and I just thought, you know, how cool would it be for him to see his dad on the big TV instead of these other people? So I just done it as a, you know, a little jokey thing between me and him, just to see his reaction. And he loved it. And like, because he used to watch these videos whenever I'd be talking to him in bed and stuff. So it just blew his mind. So then he would always ask me, can we make a video? So that's kind of how it came about, you know.
Personally, I think you did him very wrong, because you basically Hulkster him. He was supposed to get the shine, and you just went and pulled his foot from right under him. Typical Hulk Hogan. Joe, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you the same question, man. How did you get started in collecting figures? When did it start? What was the first figure you ever collected?
You see, I'm just a massive geek. Honestly, I can't even tell you. If I had enough money, I would buy so many different like lines of figures. But you know, unfortunately, I'm still a poor Yorkshireman. So, but yeah, I think it stems back again from being a kid, and I had a very strict dad. And at one point, we used to have, me and my brother, I've got an older brother, and we used to have this thing called a figure bucket, and it was literally a bucket full of figures, and we had everything: Thundercats, Turtles, Ghostbusters, wrestlers, had them all in there. And then one day he decided that we were too old to have them, and just threw them away. And me and my brother were Me and my brother were gutted. I mean, my brother is 3 years older, so him not so much, but I was gutted. And ever since, I don't know, I just love, it's almost like I'm trying to keep hold of that childhood. I just love being surrounded by things, you know, that remind me of childhood. And I don't know, there's something about being surrounded by wrestling figures in particular, because again, going back to, because we didn't have Sky Sports and we weren't able to watch it as often, we'd recreate it. We had the wrestling ring, we had the Hasbros, so we did a lot of recreations, and it's kind of being surrounded by those figures, you know, it's just awesome to look at, especially when we've got the old school people like defining moments, Razor Ramon. That's one of my that was my first wrestling fig, because I'd bought a couple here and there, but when I started to get hardcore, this Razor Ramon is a badass. To see him in that purple, and it just looks so good. So when you've got that, and you've got Ultimate Warrior, you've got Macho Man, you've got all these characters, Roddy Piper, in figure form on your desk, and like Paddy said, it just looks awesome. It just really does look awesome.
Really proud of them, like, and just that, you know, that my little collection is growing to what it is. Like, it's cool.
Absolutely, yeah. So
Yeah, you get a sense of pride, don't you?
yeah, you really do. It's hard to explain if you're not a figure collector or even a toy collector, because I'm sure people who collect Marvel Legends or anything like that will, understand. But it's quite hard to explain to someone who doesn't buy it, because a lot of people like the other day I was buying some figs, and the cashier's like, "These for you," and I'm like, "Yeah." Yes, they are. And then it was almost like they thought that I was being sarcastic to their sarcastic comment. But I'm like, so it's strange. If you don't collect figures, it's hard to explain what it is. But like Paddy and I said, it's being surrounded by something that you love. It's the pride in this awesome collection. And again, if you've got kids as well, it's something awesome to pass on to your kids.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. I look at when Paddy does his videos, and I think to myself like, oh, you know what? Like one day those are gonna be Bobby's figures, so it's kind of cool, and then he could pass it on to his kids and so on and so forth. So that's
they will never be his figures.
Okay, Hulkster. You're gonna have to put it in the will, man. He'll have to. He's gonna outlive you. So
do you know what's really cool though? I actually go on the network then and try and find these old wrestlers that he'll have never seen, and he'll want to watch, these old figures, and I get a little history lesson then, and to go down memory lane with each old figure, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I myself, just before we move on the figure talk, just myself, when I was a child, me and my brother were huge figure collectors, but we didn't consider it collecting. Then it was just like, hey, we're buying toys. I grew up in New York, and one of the places my parents used to go, it's some people in America might know this. The store it has since gone out of business, I believe, but the store was called Caldor, and the place where it was at was 2 stories. Caldor was downstairs. You take the escalator and you go upstairs, and what was upstairs? Toys R Us. And we used to go there twice a month. And when we would go there, my parents would say, listen, they would tell me, Jay, listen, you know what? You go and you could pick 2 toys. They go to my brother. You can go and pick 2 toys. Sure enough, both of us would pick 2 wrestling figures each. It was the old Hasbros. We would buy them, bring them home. I had the old blue WWE ring. I'm sure that was the original.
Yes.
Yeah.
I brought it home. I would get all my figures, and it was like I always had at least 30, 40, 50, and it just kept on building. And what I would do, I would get the old, I don't know if you guys have these, but the black and white composition books. I would set a match card, and around 7 or 8 o'clock that evening, I would put on a show for my brother. I would wrestle, and he would sit down and watch, and I would put on a whole show for him. And literally, we did that. And so at heart, I'm a nerd as well. I don't do that anymore, obviously, but it's the memories.
Yeah, definitely.
So the thing that sucked about that is, I don't know, you guys probably would know, but I don't know if any of those things are really worth money now or not. However, a few years ago, I'd say about 6 years ago, my mom literally gave them away to, I don't know who, people who don't even watch wrestling. They just gave them, oh, look, it's toys. Give them to your son. So I have none left.
That sucks. It's the parents, isn't it? It's all the parents' fault.
Yeah. I wish I could go back in time and have a word with myself, because I fucked out all my toys as well. I don't know where they are, what happened. My small fortune of stuff there.
I don't if I could go back in time, I wouldn't give a shit about toys. I'd go and buy stocks of Microsoft or something.
See, that's what's wrong with you, Jay. That's
there we go. That's another show.
So anyway, let's move forward. Thank you guys for always keeping me in the loop as far as the figures go and education. I learned a lot from both of you guys, especially. So I appreciate that. Definitely check out Paddy's YouTube videos. Joe also does, and I was thinking, Joe, when that girl or that guy, that cashier asked you about if that figure was yours, you should have said, not only is this figure mine, but I'm going to take this home and I'm going to write about this shit and post it online so other people could read about it. That's what
I should. The anger was flowing, but I thought I'd be polite. But yeah, I do love writing about figures. Just real brief, when Paddy's doing his videos, I love that. You said you do a history lesson of a background, and you do it so perfectly. The joy of writing is I can edit, I can research, I can put it all together. But when you're doing your videos, it just comes out so effortlessly. And props to you for doing that, because it takes me.
Cheers, man. Because
it takes me 4 to 5 rewrites.
I just start waffling on, and I could be just there's probably like hundreds of mistakes in there, like, so I don't even know, but people correct me, so it's okay, and then I learn more as well, so it's good.
Yeah, both of you guys' stuff is quality stuff, man. So definitely go ahead and check both these guys out. At the end of the show, I'll give you guys a chance to, promote and plug all your different things. So we're gonna go ahead and actually get into SMARK talk. And the first topic, I'm gonna go ahead and call this segment is Brock best for business. There's been widespread talks all over the internet. Some people want Brock to stick around. They like this Brock that we've gotten, who's hardly around. He's the world champ, but he's hardly around. But they think, you know what? It's a good thing because he's a special attraction. He shouldn't be there week in and week out. It waters him down. And then there's some people on there that say, hey, you know what? This guy's the world champ. The world champ needs to be there every week. He has to be there. And then there's some people in the middle who say, listen, he should be there every now and then, but he doesn't have to necessarily wrestle every week, but at least have him in talking segments. So I want to start off by asking you guys, do you think Brock is best for business? Should Brock stick around? Like, we know his contract is coming soon to an end. There is wide rumors of him possibly going back to the UFC. Would you be happy if Brock left and went back to the UFC, or do you prefer him to stick around in the WWE? And if so, do you want him to stick around in this part-time, or do you want him to go full-time? Paddy, I'm going to go ahead and ask you first.
Brock, right? This is like this is a taboo one, isn't it? Like, I like having Brock about, and fair enough. It would be great to have a champion with the strap on every week that we get to see. But when Brock does appear, like when he showed up at the Miz segment there on Raw, the place just exploded, and I think that only happened is because we don't see Brock as much as we would like to. And when he does appear, it's amazing. But I think he's good for business, definitely. And I wouldn't want to see WWE without Brock Lesnar.
Joe, thoughts on it?
Yeah, I completely agree. The way I was thinking about it was like, he's almost like a video game kind of boss. So when I was a kid and I'm playing Street Fighter, it took ages to get
Bison.
To Bison. Yes,
yeah,
exactly. So when you get to him, like, holy shit, here I am. I'm up against a big man, and that's what Brock should be. It shouldn't be there every single day because you just get used to him being there. Like Paddy said, when he came out, that segment was awesome. Loved that segment, and again, it's because we don't get to see him as often. So I definitely agree that he should only really come out. The thing I love about Brock as well, he does what he wants. He just does what he wants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He gets away with murder. He's not exactly the best on mic, as we know. So just having him turn up when he wants, kick ass, and then jog back on, I think that's exactly what they should do with him.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Paddy. Go ahead.
I think I was listening to one of your shows before, and you were talking about, the back in the day they wouldn't have the guys fight as much coming up to a pay-per-view. They might have them here and there, a little spot show or a tag team match, but now they seem to just do it far too often, and that's what I like about the way they use Brock. They kind of keep him at distance, and then when it comes to the time for the pay-per-views and stuff, he starts coming in a little bit more frequently.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, regarding Joe, I know everyone always says Brock is not that great on the mic, and I too agree with that. However, I still believe till this day, Brock Lesnar has done one of the best lines ever in a promo when he said, "Paul, say something stupid." That was one. Do you guys remember the promo I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That was one of the funniest shits ever. Paddy, regarding what you were saying, I tend to agree with you guys up to a certain extent. One of the problems with the product today is there's so much of it. It's so watered down. I mean, at the time of this recording of this episode, we just saw Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal on SmackDown this week for like the 4th, 5th time already. Who the hell wants?
I was so miffed off with the result as well. I'm like, come on, what is the point?
I mean, who wants to see that? Seriously, that does nothing for either guy, which it did nothing for either guy. So things are watered down. So I totally understand Brock only being around sometimes, but I think if he's going to be the world champ, he should be around more times than not. And again, not necessarily in a capacity where he's wrestling, even if it's a backstage segment, even if it's him sitting down, doing nothing.
Working out.
Exactly, working out or whatever, or doing some cardio, because he for damn sure needs some cardio work. He gets blown up after like 2 minutes. But yeah, I mean, I Brock is always going to be a big ticket buy, so it's good to always have him. But also, I have to also think about look at Brock's age. Brock only has a little time left. Is Brock taking a spot of someone else that could probably be utilized in that top spot? Paddy, I want to go ahead and ask you first on that one.
Well, you know what? He probably is, because but with WWE, they can replace you in a second, and just they don't care, because whatever they do, people are just going to pay and buy it and watch it. So I think we should just appreciate Brock while we have him here, because like you say, there's not going to be much time for him left. I think the way they're using his character and him being about in a bit part role is, I think only Brock could actually pull that off. So that's what I would think about that.
Joe, what do you think?
It's a tricky one, that, because if you look at the fatal four-way, forget Roman Reigns. I'm not even going to talk about him. If you look at Braun Strowman, Samoa Joe, and Brock Lesnar, those are three legitimate badasses. It's been ages for me personally where I felt like a character is a badass, and now all of a sudden we've got three, and I'm like, so again, let's just say that Roman Reigns is out the picture and it was just those three fighting. I would really struggle to think who would win, because they're all justifiably badass. They're all, they're all built big.
Yeah.
So my point is, if we got rid of Brock, there is two other people that would take his place. So it kind of, as good as he is and as much as I love him, maybe get rid of him at some point, just so that we can push Joe or Strowman a bit more. Although they don't need it at this moment in time, I personally think, because they're doing phenomenal. But yeah, if we did get rid of him, at least we've got those two kind of waiting. But yeah, there's too much badass at the top for me personally on Raw. Those three guys are just phenomenal. So maybe he's holding them back. Maybe he should really jog on and let one of them win. But we shall see what happens.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. There's so much top tier talent. This has got to be easily, and I've been watching wrestling now for 30 odd years. This has got to be some of the best talent ever WWE has had, at least in the past 10, 15 years, at least. The talent is just tremendous from top to bottom. They have so many good workers. And they, not only workers, but they have great guys who are also good on the mic as well. So I say, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Joe. Now, Joe, another question. Actually, this is a two-part question. If Brock Lesnar does leave and he goes to UFC, is this the end of Brock Lesnar, or are we going to get him again after his UFC stint, or is this the end of Brock Lesnar? And if it's not, if we do not get back Brock Lesnar, and this is the end for Brock Lesnar, what do you think Brock Lesnar will be known as? What would he be remembered as?
That's a tough one, because again, it goes back to he does what he wants. So if I've had it with this WWE, I want to go back to UFC, and then for all we know, I want another stint at wrestling. It's a tricky one. So I personally would say that he can't. If he leaves, then the likelihood of him coming back is quite high. But even then, I still connect UFC with it. I still see him as a UFC fighter, rightly or wrongly. As long as he's been in the WWE, I always see him as UFC first, because again, he does do what he wants. He's had a good WWE career. He's had loads of amazing matches, but I still instantly think, oh, that's the UFC guy. Or even if you speak to like casual fans about that UFC guy, at least from my end anyway. So yeah, I think we can't. If he leaves, the likelihood of him coming back is very high. And when he does eventually leave, it's probably going to be, for me, more connected with the UFC than the WWE.
Yeah, I agree with you. At the end of the day, Brock does whatever he wants. And even if he does leave, I do feel that at any point in time, all Vince McMahon has to do is give him a call, and Brock Lesnar will be like, let's go. And Vince McMahon, his next question would be, how much? And then he'll sign whatever. And that's the end of that. Just give him a check and be like, hey, fill in an amount. Because at the end of the day, Brock is a gigantic attraction. Brock will sell tickets, especially if they just bring him in for short stints. We get him once every 2 years, or one like Undertaker type, or he just shows up around WrestleMania time. So I think Brock actually is going to be around for even longer than this. Maybe not as much as we're seeing him now, even though we're barely seeing him now. Maybe a once a year type thing. But we're gonna get Brock. We're definitely gonna get Brock until Brock can just no longer go anymore, or is just sick of making millions of dollars. Paddy, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you that same question. What are your thoughts around that, as far as Brock, and is he coming back, and what would Brock be remembered as after he retires?
Right. Well, Brock Lesnar, if we think he's in a bit part capacity now on wrestling, if he leaves this time, he won't come back as a full, I would call this a full-time stint he's doing. Obviously, it's a bit part, but I don't think he'll ever come back and be as in big stories as such as he has been at the moment. I'll always remember him he'll probably be remembered for beating The Undertaker and almost breaking his fucking neck.
Oh, yes.
Star press on Angle.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, that's what I think about Brock. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh, man, I'll never forget that. I was in attendance for WrestleMania 30, and honestly, everybody, I don't know how it was portrayed on television because I never went back and actually watched it, but in the arena, literally everybody thought the referee somehow screwed up, and you could hear a pin drop, like, because Brock Lesnar's music didn't play right away, so everybody was like, did the referee hit the 3 by accident? What's going on? And then next thing you know, before his music hits on the screen, you see, I think it was 21-1, and all you hear is, oh, and then his music hits. And yeah, I think he'll definitely be remembered, number one, as that. Absolutely. So the last thing I want to talk about regarding Brock before we close this segment up, is at the time of this recording, we have SummerSlam coming up. It's Fatal 4-Way. It's Brock. It's Roman Reigns. It's Samoa Joe. And it's Braun Strowman. I want you guys to go on record right now and tell me, who do you guys think is walking away with the title? Paddy, I'll go ahead and ask you first.
Brock Lesnar is walking away with that title.
Wow.
Yeah. No one's taking it off him at SummerSlam.
Wow. There you go. And Joe?
It's a tough call, man, because you could justifiably argue for 3 of them. Like I said, Strowman, Joe, and Brock all deserve it and all would be believable winners. It's because I think Joe's getting a good push, and although he's been around for decades, there's a lot of fans that only just know him. So I'm saying Joe. I'm saying that Joe's gonna sort it out. I don't know in how or what capacity, but I'm putting my money on Joe.
So Joe's predicting Joe.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, Joe.
I have to agree with Joe on this one, though. I really think the way they're setting this up is for Samoa Joe to win. I honestly believe Brock Lesnar is done after this, at least for a little while, and he's going to go to try to get back into UFC. I mean, for anyone who follows UFC, John Jones just won back the title. He beat Daniel Cormier, and he called out Brock Lesnar after the match. He literally called out Brock Lesnar and said, listen, if you want to know what it's like to get for someone 40 pounds less than you to kick your ass, let's go at it. And he called out Brock Lesnar. So I think Brock Lesnar is coming back to the UFC.
But do you not think that was like really predictable if they do that storyline with Paul Heyman coming out and saying, oh, if we lose, Brock Lesnar's leaving? The day after we hear John Jones calling him out, that's the only reason that I'm thinking it's a lure and that we're going to get a little bit more Brock Lesnar. But
I think Paul Heyman's putting it completely on Front Street, and you know what I mean. He's just like, no, honestly, I'm going to like breaking kayfabe. I'm telling you, this is what's happening.
Yeah, I think the reason why they did that is because there has to be an out. Because if let's say Brock Lesnar, obviously, let's say he loses, he's gonna have to be off television. They're not gonna want to say, oh, he's injured, he's gonna be gone for 6 months, and then he shows up on UFC TV 2 months later or whatever. So they're not gonna. So this is I think that's why they're running it that way. But I do think Samoa Joe does walk away with the title. I will be highly, highly pissed off if it's Roman Reigns. I have nothing against Roman Reigns. I think he's a decent talent as far as in-ring work goes. I think he needs a lot of help with his promo skills. But his matches are
unbelievable.
Absolutely. Absolutely agreed. I just would like to see Samoa Joe have a shot and a run. But we know how Vince feels about non-WWE made guys. Well, no, that's not a fair statement because we've had non-WWE guys had runs, but I don't know how he feels about Samoa Joe. I really don't. But we'll see.
let's put it this way: Roman Reigns won't win the belt. They can't.
It better
do
not
that,
do.
because
Swear to
I'm
God.
sure they already know how the fans feel about the way he's been like shoved down people's throats. They can't put the belt on him because it would just there'd be fucking riots.
But
Yeah,
here's
damn right. And they're leading them as well.
But here's the problem. At the end of the day, and I've had this discussion many times. At the end of the day, Vince McMahon could give two shits what any of us want.
That's true.
He doesn't care about us. What he cares about, Paddy, is what your son wants. Your son is the real market. And guess what?
Yeah.
Whatever's on that television, it could be the stupidest shit in the world. So your son is going to love what's on that television. And that's what they want. So for guys like us, quote unquote smarks, we're on Smart Talk. He doesn't care what we want. So he'll at the end of the day, he'll do whatever. But I don't think they're gonna give
you, Vince.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Vince is like, and that's why we're not coming to Ireland for WrestleMania. So yeah, that's basically Brock. So we're gonna go into the next segment. This next segment, I like to go ahead and call this segment. It's the Book It segment. And basically what I do is I give our guests a chance to book something. This is all interactive. I did go ahead and put up a poll on Twitter, and it's been up for a little over a day now. And we had two choices really. And number one was booking AJ Styles versus Nakamura for WrestleMania 34 next year. And the other option was book the way Baron Corbin should cash in his Money in the Bank. And we had a pretty tight poll. It was pretty close, but at the end of the day, Baron Corbin cashing in the Money in the Bank barely eked by like 1 or 2 votes. So I'm gonna ask you guys, how would you book Baron Corbin cashing in the Money in the Bank? Joe, I'll go ahead and ask you first. Go ahead and book it.
This is a tricky one because Nakamura is kind of involved with Corbin, and I love that guy. But the way I'd book it kind of detracts from him a little bit. So, because I was thinking of a million ways we could do this, but one that I would like to see is, so Mahal wins at SummerSlam. I don't really want that to happen, but for this story, he would win, and then Corbin comes out, but he spends the next couple of weeks. And in fact, let me just retract. Mahal wins, but only just because we've seen that. Nakamura is an ass kicker. We know that anyway, and Cena did that awesome promo, giving him a lot of respect and love about how he kicked a lot of ass. So Mahal wins, but only just, and that kind of shakes his confidence a little bit. And then Corbin comes out instantly and taunts him, and he continues to taunt him up until I believe the next pay-per-view is Hell in a Cell. I think that's the next.
I'm not 100% positive, actually.
I think I want to say that, but regardless, the next pay-per-view. So that, in a nutshell, that is. I just want to see Corbin mess with Mahal's head. He's just won Nakamura, but he's shook because he didn't realize how good he was. Corbin comes out, taunts him, and continues to taunt him week in, week out, and Mahal's kind of is losing confidence in himself, and he's losing. Confidence in there's like a split with the Singh brothers. It's just causing a rift, is this loss, and Corbin's adding to it, and then eventually at the next pay-per-view, that's when Corbin cashes in. I want to see I don't want it to just be a straight cash in, I've won, let's go, you know what I mean? I want to build the story because I like Jinder Mahal. I understand a lot of people don't, but
I don't mind him.
Yeah, and so just, but give a bit of character and a bit of story. Don't just give us Jinder won and then Corbin cashed in and then now he's champ. You know what I mean? It's just very A to B. I want a bit of depth, and then eventually Nakamura to kick ass, because in the way I would book it, Corbin kind of gets this extra arrogance. It's like, I've messed with Mahal's head. I knew I could do this. I've broke him and the Singh brothers up, and I've kicked ass and I've claimed what is mine, and he's walking around with a bit of arrogance, and only for then the next pay-per-view Nakamura knocks him out, wins, and he has a good run. Then that is how I would book it.
That's pretty good. And you went in depth, so I do like that. You did go in depth, and also just to confirm, the first SmackDown pay-per-view after SummerSlam post SummerSlam is, yes, it's Hell in a Cell. So yeah, that will be the first SmackDown branded pay-per-view after SummerSlam. So yeah, that was really in depth and detail. Paddy, you have a tough one to follow up there. How would you go ahead and do this one? Corbin cashing in Money in the Bank. Go ahead and book it.
Well, first of all, fuck Baron Corbin.
Yes, I love heel Paddy, bro. I love heel
I
Paddy.
just can't stand him and his shit fucking hair. Shave it off.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Hang
I'm
on.
sorry, Paddy. I'm so sorry, man. I just want to say something.
What?
It's funny, man, because you watch Paddy's YouTube videos, and he's this smiling, clean-cut guy with this
Oh, my
beautiful,
kid's there.
with his beautiful kid, and he gets on SMARK Talk, and he has just opened up. I love it. Go ahead. Sorry for cutting you off, man.
Right. So anyway, we got that out of the way. That was been penting up for a couple of weeks. So anyway, just you know what, get it over and done with at SummerSlam. I don't care how predictable it is. I just want it over with. Let Nakamura beat Jinder Mahal, because we can't have Jinder beat Nakamura. I don't think he's had a good run. Boom, Baron Corbin comes running out. He's already feuding with Nakamura. And Nakamura just kicks him in the face and beats him again. Would that be the first time ever that a cash-in didn't work?
No, it happened twice.
Right, well, there you go. That's what I want.
Yeah, it actually happened twice. Damian Sandow cashed in on John Cena.
Yes.
Yeah, and John Cena cashed in on I forget who, but that wasn't like a he actually issued a challenge. I forgot. I think it was CM Punk. I don't know. CM Punk, I think it was. I don't know, but John Cena lost and Damian Sandow lost. And after Damian Sandow lost that cash in, his career was like so shot after that. Like I don't know what happened to him. But anyhow,
yeah, give fucking Baron Corbin a spoon of that.
I've been up and down. At first, I did not like him at all. The guys on the Blue Zone podcast, shout out to CEO Hayes and Misery. But CEO Hayes, he kind of talked me into, kind of liking Baron Corbin a little bit. And I was on the Baron Corbin bandwagon for a little while.
Yeah.
But the last month or two, he's been absolute shit. So, yeah, I agree with you. Fuck Baron Corbin.
I don't think he's got great mic skills either. We're all
No.
Roman Reigns mic skills. Jesus, he's a lot better than Baron Corbin.
Yeah, Baron Corbin does not have great mic skills, and actually, he says a lot of stupid shit. Roman Reigns.
The last promo he cut with Cena when Cena called him a dumpster fire or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
Baron Corbin kept saying John over and over again, and it was just so mundane, and there was no passion or
exactly,
energy.
Man. Exactly. Fuck Baron
was
Corbin.
Flat.
And you know what? The people are on about Roman Reigns as moveset and all this. What does Baron Corbin do?
Clothesline.
And a clothesline. At that end of days.
I don't know. That end of his finisher does look badass when it's sold
that's a pretty
well.
killer. No, has anyone ever kicked out of that?
I don't know. I don't think so, though. I think it's pretty protected. But yeah, I mean, his Roman Reigns has a bigger moveset than Baron Corbin. And also, again, fuck Baron Corbin for the fact that he's making me defend Roman Reigns, like put good words into Roman Reigns. That's just crazy. Yeah, so Baron Corbin, how I would book it, but my booking is very typical. I would just have Nakamura win because I agree with Paddy and you, Joe. I don't think. Well, actually, Joe, you suggested Jinder wins.
Yeah,
but
I don't want him to, but for the sake of my story, I think it would make for a good story.
I just can't see WWE giving. If Nakamura had already lost before, I could see possibly, but I don't see Jinder giving him his first loss, even if it's like a dirty win. And if they do, let me tell you, Jinder Mahal, it should be automatic first ballot Hall of Famer at that point.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
If he beats Nakamura, I don't care if it's dirty or clean.
You can't have Nakamura nearly fucking kill John Cena and then.
Exactly. How does that look?
To Jinder Mahal.
Can you imagine how that looks? That looks like wow. At that point, if I'm Jinder Mahal, I retire. Because it can't get any better than that. Yeah, so I see Nakamura winning, and by Nakamura winning, think about it. All Nakamura's fans and hardcore fans and marks and smarks, and they're gonna be like, yes, Nakamura did it. He got to WWE. He got to the main roster. He's now a world champion. And then somehow Baron Corbin cashes in and wins. Now, what this does, though, as much as I would not like that, it does a world of good for Corbin because now he has serious heat. Because everyone's gonna hate this guy. Everyone's gonna hate this guy for cashing out on Nakamura and taking away Nakamura's his position. And then what I would like to see, just to move forward a little bit, I would like to see Nakamura and Baron Corbin feud. And obviously at the end of the feud, Nakamura, possibly I'd say maybe even take it to as far as Royal Rumble. I mean, at Survivor Series, they could have like a 4-on-4 traditional thing. They might have a Raw versus SmackDown type of thing, but I'd say carry it into Royal Rumble, have Nakamura win back the title, and somehow figure out a way to have Nakamura versus AJ Styles for the title at WrestleMania 34.
Well, that's what we need. That's what we want. That's the end game.
But probably, if that's what we want, we're probably going to end up getting something like Nakamura versus Funaki with like, you know, with like Gene Okerlund as the special guest referee.
Fucking hell.
That's what, because, you know, WWE just don't know these guys.
Oh God, please no.
So yeah, that was pretty much the book it segment.
For the record as well, I don't dislike Jinder Mahal. I I love the whole thing they done with him, and I think he's okay.
Yeah, I don't understand why Jinder Mahal got so much hate. There's so many wrestling fans are the worst fans ever, and I put myself in that category. We're some whiny, complaining bitches, really, some of the time, because we always complain about things in wrestling, which is fine. You're allowed to have a voice. But my problem is people are like, oh, the product is the same old stale old crap.
Yes.
They do something out of the blue with Jinder Mahal out of left field, wins the title, and they're still not happy. And I think that's one of the reasons why at this point Vince just doesn't give a shit, because Vince is like, hey, regardless of what we do, they're not going to like it. So let's do what we want to do. And we're still going to put asses in the seats. They're still going to buy the network for $9.99. They're still going to buy our merch. But at least we could do whatever the hell we want to do.
Bastards. They have us by the balls.
Exactly.
What do you think about that, Joe?
Yeah, I agree. The whiny bitches everywhere. I'm one of them. But yeah, like you said, Vince doesn't care. As long as he's happy, as long as he's got his goal, his money's coming in, he don't care. But we're always going to get whiners.
Exactly. Now for the next topic, I mean, I have two old school guys here, so I wanted to bring this up. One of my favorite guys right now is The Miz, and Miz has gotten so much hate.
Yes.
So much hate over the years, and I've always been a true fan of The Miz. And I think one of the reasons was I knew Miz before Miz was even a wrestler. Miz was on an MTV show called Real World, and he's also on a thing called Real World Road Rules Challenges, where they did like challenges and had opportunity to win money. I've known Miz since then, and I remember watching him. He's like, hey guys, my name is Michael, and one day my dream is to be a wrestler, and I'm going to be called The Miz. And he would always have like towels as capes, and it's so cool to see this guy live out his dream. But I've always been a fan of him, not necessarily his in-ring work in his early years, but he's always been great on the mic, for me at least. And now I'm so happy that everybody else is seeing what I've been seeing all these years. And not only that, but he's actually peaking right now. He's the best he's ever been in his career. And honestly, I want him to hold his title, and I want him to beat Honky Tonk Man's 15-month Intercontinental record.
He deserves it.
He absolutely deserves it. No slight on Honky Tonk Man, no slight on Chris Jericho and all the other past great Intercontinental champs. But the Intercontinental title is something that means a lot to me, because as an old school guy, any old school guy, the Intercontinental title was a big deal. But I don't want to go too much into Miz and the Intercontinental title. The topic here is the reason I called Miz, though, is I feel in genuinely Miz is one of the, if not the best heel in WWE right now. And what I wanted to ask you guys is, who do you guys think right now currently is the best heel in the WWE today, as well as all time? Who are some of the best heels? Paddy, I'll go ahead and ask you that question first.
Well, I'm like 100%